Hi everyone, and welcome to Jane Talks Trek, where I'll be talking about and reviewing an episode of the original series, The Next Generation, Voyager, Deep Space Nine, or Enterprise. Today, I'm looking at Desert Crossing from Enterprise's first season. Or as I like to call it, that time Jane only wanted to cover this episode so she could stare at Trip topless. We begin the episode with Enterprise en route to Risa, but they won't make it there until the following episode. Archer hears of a distress call, delaying Porthos' shore leave, poor pup, and into the credits we go. They've rescued this guy in his dressing gown, played by Clancy Brown, who has over 300 acting credits to his name, including Captain Hadley in The Shawshank Redemption, Surtur in Thor Ragnarok, and voicing Mr. Krabs in SpongeBob SquarePants. Like seriously, he's in everything. He commends Archer for stopping to help him and invites him and Trip to visit his planet and join in with a Gusgana match. And while Archer wants to get to Risa, he just can't say no to a good strong chin tattoo. Trip doesn't want to go because he hates the desert, which Zabral's planet is covered in, so Archer guilt trips him into agreeing, which he regrets as they land, seeing as it's incredibly hot out there. Zabral greets them and takes them to dinner, and they talk about the differences between their planets. And Trip, dude, sit nicely at the table. What's wrong with you? Zabral asks if they ever thought about turning back, and Archer explains the plot of the episode Silent Enemy to him, before more food arrives, which contains testicles. Zabral gifts Archer with a giant bottle opener before the Gusgana match kicks off. Zabral, they just ate. But anyway, it's just fancy lacrosse. And fun fact, somewhere amongst the players is Tarek Ergin, aka Ayala from Voyager. Zabral invites them to play and ooh, I think I'm going to enjoy this game. Can this just be the episode now, please? T'Pol gets a phone call from some Chancellor dude on the planet who wants to know where their shuttle went and warns that Zabral is bad news. Slow motion topless sports ball. But Trip gets dumped on his back and Archer is a terrible shot. Wait, the game can't be over already? T'Pol calls Archer to pass on the Chancellor's warning that Zabral and his buddies are terrorists, so thinks he should come home. But Zabral catches on and gets mad about them trying to leave and reveals he has an ulterior motive for inviting them down. No, why do you have clothes on again? Zabral explains that his people were treated as inferior until an accord was signed, but the Chancellor still treated them like crap and limited their resources, so the only way for them to get their point across was to start attacking the cities.
They call us terrorists, but the truth is they have been terrorizing us for centuries.
Archer wants him to get to the point, so Zabral says they're outnumbered without Archer's help. Trip is over it, and wants Enterprise's weapons to fight back against their enemy. Speaking of, they fly over to attack, so whoa, nice gun stash! But Archer is still confused, even more so, when Zabral repeats tales of his heroics and battle prowess that seem to be very over-exaggerated. And this guy looks like he's part of a 90s punk band. Zabral says they'll chat later and tells them to hide under the floorboards.
Please! I wouldn't be a very good host if I allowed you to get killed.
And with no other choice, they get in the hole. The crew discuss their best course of action, while Archer and Trip talk about whether they should help Zabral or not, with Trip on the side of, nah, screw him. Ooh, that was a big one. So they climb back out to find their shelter a little less sheltered. They run for the shuttle and stock up on supplies before heading out, while T'Pol has trouble with the Chancellor, who thinks they sided with Zabral and hangs up. The boys Star Trek through the desert, and tired from the heat, Trip yells at the sky and are we nearly there yet? All the way towards a building Archer spotted miles away when they first arrived. Trip collapses, so they stop for a water break where he hears a distant ship, so they hide in the sand, which definitely would have taken the actors several showers to get rid of. And Malcolm wants to start blowing shit up to show them who's boss, but T'Pol tells him to calm his ass down. Hoshi wonders if they're going to keep running into this problem, befriend a group of people, and in turn make enemies of others. And T'Pol explains that the Vulcans have strict rules when it comes to contact.
Eventually, Captain Archer will have to create some directives of his own.
Holy crap, I have hiked sand dunes and it is damn tough. Their legs must be burning. And Trip goes splat again and starts babbling incoherently, complaining he's cold. So Archer tries to give him his water, but Trip refuses.
Take the water or I'll knock you on your ass and pour it down your throat.
That settles that then. Zabrawl approaches the ship and wants refuge, so T'Pol agrees, where Malcolm bursts his bubble by telling him what actually happened at the Suliban prison.
I'm afraid you've come to the wrong people for help.
Zabrawl turns into a cranky toddler, especially when Malcolm asks him to help get to the surface undetected, and shouts at him, showing the height difference between these two actors. So Malcolm sets T'Pol on him, who gives him a look. Trip and Archer make it to the building. Really? You hiked 30 kilometers for this crap hole?
Home sweet home.
But Archer does find a water source. A really gross water source. He makes a fire which sort of helps the water a bit, but Trip isn't a fan and just wants to go to sleep. However, Archer makes him chug-a-lug. Archer tries to keep him alert by quizzing him about the warp reactors and then about dinner, while the shuttle looks for them. And then they play a little game, although Trip isn't in the mood and is really struggling, right before they're attacked. Aww, hugs! They flee just in time, and T'Pol is able to locate them, but they don't realize the ship is friendly.
I'm just slowing you down. Go! I don't remember taking orders from you!
But yep, it's a rescue, so get in, bitches! And even Zabrawl helps out. He goes on his merry way, and T'Pol and Archer discuss if they've done the right thing. Okay, I love this episode, and not just for the obvious reason, although it is a very nice reason. I may be weird, but I enjoy episodes where a main character is in trouble. There are some really great examples of this in CSI, because, I don't know, it makes you care about the characters even more. This is a really solid episode because it's a good example of what Enterprise should have been about, making those ethical decisions prior to the introduction of the Prime Directive, and understanding why the Prime Directive was established in the first place. I wish the show would focus more on this. I mean, we do dip in and out of this idea, but I want more first-time exploration and making mistakes, and understanding how the Prime Directive came to be, rather than the overcomplicated nonsense of the temporal Cold War, or the perfectly fine but massively misplaced Xindi storyline. All the captains have their merits, but I think Archer is my favourite because he's the most hands-on and really deeply cares about his people. I know Trip is his bestie, but he dragged his ass across the desert, gave him his water, and shielded him from harm. I mean, it seems a little odd that they would head so far out into the desert with hardly any supplies, instead of using the shuttle for shelter. I know they were getting fired at, but shuttles have shields and transporters, don't they? But anyway, Archer is the most hands-on of all the captains, and I really like that about him. He feels different because he's before all the others, before the Prime Directive, so he's still figuring things out, but that's the draw of the show for me. The characters are really fun and relatable. Speaking of characters, Clancy Brown did a great job in the role of Zabrawl, and his voice can sell me anything, but he did so much with his facial expressions even when he wasn't the focus. A prime example of this is the little smile he gives when Malcolm fires at his enemy while rescuing Trip and Archer. It really helped to sell the character and the story having someone like him at the helm. So there you have it. That was Desert Crossing. If there's an episode of Star Trek you'd like me to cover, pop it down in the comments below or come say hi on social media. If you enjoyed this video, then please hit that like button, it really does mean a lot, or consider subscribing if you want to be assimilated into my channel. Alternatively, feel free to check out my other YouTube channels. Thank you so much for watching, I'll speak to you soon, and live long and prosper.